Good afternoon, Good Shepherd. It is Wednesday, September 29th, the Feast of St. Michael and All Angels. And I'm happy to spend a few moments with you this afternoon. A number of things to talk about, some important stuff. All of it's important, of course, but some timely things. First, just a reminder that this coming Sunday, Faith Forum will continue our discussion of Barbara Brown Taylor's book, An Altar in the World. We'll be discussing chapters 5 and 6. You're welcome to join us in person on Sunday morning at 9:15 or Monday evening at 7 p.m. via Zoom. You can come to both of them or just to one. It's fine. The discussions have been rich and very enjoyable, thought-provoking, and so I encourage you to, if you can't get a copy of the book, that's okay. We reprise the chapter, summarize it, and then discuss it. So look forward to having you there sometime soon. A reminder also that a week from this coming Sunday, we will be doing our Blessing of the Animals annual event, and it will be at Willow Creek Park, down Quebec, sort of down by St. Thomas More on Phillips Circle in the Willow Creek area. Same place we've done it the last couple of years. We'll be outside, masks will be optional, and you're welcome to bring whichever of your feathered, furred friends, scaled friends you want, and we sing and we bless the animals and we have a great time. We hope the weather will continue to cooperate for us on that Sunday. And now I'd really like to turn to an issue that has been generating a lot of controversy, unnecessary, I would say, controversy anyway, and that is the recommendations of the Tech Task Force. And I'm going to be talking about this over the next several days in a number of different ways, but I want to start today by just sort of reminding you of what's going on. And what hasn't gone on, and that is, at the beginning of the summer, the vestry and I sort of commissioned a task force to start looking at our options for how we might provide better audiovisual capacity, primarily in the sanctuary, but also in other places in the church. And in many respects, this is just sort of an ongoing piece of a greater technological upgrade that we started almost a year ago when we began to rethink our telephone system and our internet. All of that we started last fall in the midst of COVID, recognizing we could do a lot of this work when the building wasn't being heavily used. And so now we have a very, very high quality internet system and Wi-Fi throughout the building. And I was just stopped in the hall a minute ago by one of the folks who works with the homeschool that meets here on Wednesday. And she just said, I want to thank you for all of the upgrades that you have done in this last year. It makes it so much easier for us to be here and to do the kinds of things that we want to do. And I just want to thank you for that. And she said, I hope your congregation really appreciates it too. And I said, I hope they do. Anyway, so this is what we're doing, what we started last summer. Or earlier this summer, really is sort of the next step on that, recognizing that when we were able to be back in the building in a more regular way, which is now, we knew that we were going to have a lot of folks, for whatever reason, would choose to join us remotely. And so that's what the task force was tasked to do, was to talk about amongst themselves and get consultants and do some site visits and come up with some recommendations to make to the parish leadership. And so that was what they did. And the tech task force was made up of 4 people: Senior Warden Karen Elson, vestry member Christina Blackburn, Dee Dee Atwood was on it with her knowledge of how the sound system worked and the soundboard, and her experience in doing a lot of the technological stuff for us and then beyond. And then Whit Hill, who knows this building about as well as anybody, especially that technological side, and has experience in telecommunications. It was a very, very good task force, and their charge was pretty limited, and that was to work with consultants again and do some site visits and then make some recommendations. And that is what they did. They did their work with due diligence. They apparently contacted at least 4 different consultants, 3 of which responded, and they worked with several, boiled it down to 2 and then down to 1. They were able to, because they talked with a number of different consultants, they got a lot of different ideas, and then chose all of those ideas that they thought would work the best or that would provide the best product for us, and then sort of gave that to the company they felt was most responsive. And so they did that, and that their job was then to make those recommendations, take those recommendations to up the line, if you will. And so they made a presentation to the Finance Committee, an information-only presentation to the Finance Committee just about 2 weeks ago. And then last week made a similar presentation to the vestry. So all of this has happened. All of this presentation stuff has happened within the last 10 days. This has not been held out or anything like that. Nobody was working under the table or behind closed doors. The task force did what they were supposed to, and made those recommendations as they would. And so they made recommendations to the vestry, as I said last week. There are some questions, points of clarification about all of that, requests for more information, and we're looking to get the answers to those before any other, before moving on. All of this is part of how we make the decision. And I remind you that the vestry is that body that makes these decisions on the basis on behalf of the congregation. That's what you elect a vestry for, and I work with them in that regard as well. They have the congregation's best interests in heart, and no decisions have been made again. And so the transparency piece of this is what we're talking about now, what you'll see in the ENews tomorrow, and I'll get to that in a minute. And then, of course, the presentation of what the findings are, and kind of doing a Q&A of where we are at this time. I recognize that the words have gotten out, the leaks have happened, and people are drawing conclusions, unsupported conclusions, and beginning to worry about things that I'm not sure we need to worry about. And so I'm hoping that we can step back a bit and recognize that this is not a we they situation, as I preached last Sunday. This is an us situation. This is Good Shepherd moving forward, and coming out of the COVID exile and moving forward as a congregation, recognizing that all of the changes that we may make will be made so that the congregation functions better. We're talking about better sound in the sanctuary. We know that there are dead spots in the sanctuary where, regardless of how loud anybody speaks, and how where we point the speakers, there are going to be dead spots in that sanctuary. We're looking at changing those. But we also know that the audio-visual capabilities that we currently have aren't the best, and you've seen that in Zoom or in some of the other things that we've done. We're looking to make that better, not just for the people of this congregation, but for the people who are looking for congregations, and they can now go online and see what a worship service looks like. What do we want to present? And so all of this is what these are all reasons that we are working to find the best solutions for how to move forward with this audiovisual stuff. So I ask you to come at this with a generous spirit, a Christian generous spirit, not one of fear or suspicion, but recognizing that we are the body of Christ, and we are serving one Lord, and that is our call. So I said there's going to be some information coming out in the ENews. What will be there tomorrow are a bunch of links. because we don't want to make the ENews really long or any longer than it needs to be. And so there will be a link to a document on what does digital church mean. It's more than just streaming. It's really a question of what does digital church mean. And then there will be a number of links to other congregations. So you can, we'll put in links so that you can go directly and see what worship being broadcast from St. Timothy's looks like, what worship broadcast from Christ Church Castle Rock looks like, what worship broadcast from St. Gabriel's looks like. There will be a link in there to the celebration of new ministry. And if you were there or you watched it, you know that we had to hire someone to come in and put up a couple of cameras, and we tried to tie everything into the sound system so that we could get the best quality that we thought we could for a portable system. There will be a link there to Ronald Jewell's funeral, because we don't have an audiovisual system. They brought in one of their own. It was all sort of portable and temporary, smaller cameras, not tied into the sound system. So you can sort of poke around on that funeral and see how the sound and the visuals work there. And so there will be all of these opportunities and options for folks to, we want you to look at these so that you come to this discussion on Sunday a little bit better informed. There's also, this will not happen, unfortunately, before our information session, but next week, at the end of next week, we have our diocesan convention, and it's all virtual. And there are some workshops that basically anybody can go to online, and there will be a workshop on creative ways of gathering God's people, and that has to do with how we use our technology, how we use audiovisual to not only gather us together, but how we use it sort of as an evangelism tool. And then I would also suggest, and we won't put any links of these in there, I'll let you look on your own, that you go to some of the local non-Episcopal churches. There are Methodist churches and Presbyterian churches and non-denominational churches in our neighborhood that are doing, that are streaming or Zooming, using much better audiovisual capabilities than we have at hand. So you can see the breadth of what is out there, and we're hoping that that will help you better understand when the presentation is made on Sunday, what we're talking about. You can put it in some context. So really that's all I wanted to say about that. It's a very, very important conversation for us to be having. And we want to get it right. We don't want to exclude anybody. We don't want anybody to be frightened. We're not going to be irresponsible. We don't have the money to be irresponsible, and we know that. The vestry knows that. The finance committee knows that. And so conversations about somebody doing this behind somebody's back are not helpful, and they are not true. And I would ask you, if you are a party to one of those, or you become a part to one of those, to say, wait a minute, hold on. This is not the way we should be talking about this. Let's wait and see what we hear, and then enter into a conversation that would make the church proud. And that is what I would ask of you as we go forward. As I mentioned, today is the feast of Saint Michael and all angels. And I would like to close with sort of an old collect. This is not the one in the prayer book, but this is an old collect for Saint Michael, the Archangel. And if you know much about Saint Michael, he's the Archangel. He's the warrior angel. Gabriel is the messenger angel, but Michael is the warrior angel. He's usually depicted with a spear. So I want to just close with this sort of older prayer to Saint Michael. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, thrust into hell Satan and all evil spirits who wander through the world for the ruin of souls. Amen.